This is your Sleepless God back with a new series of something more interesting. Now, I've been thinking for a while, and because the My Hero Academia is getting a new season, even though it's a new season, so I wanted to just make something new about it, make it something interesting. But I want something more interesting. So we're gonna bring back time a little bit. So we bring back a generation. Maybe I think 2 generations. Yeah, 2 generations, maybe 3 before the My Hero Academia universe starts out. We have a brilliant scientist. Actually, I think it's just 2. It's roughly 2. We have a brilliant scientist named what should I name her? Uzashio Midoriya. No. Uzashio. Her name is she's a genius scientist who is working with the Japanese and American government to make a device that can teleport weapons and things to another teleporter. As she's working on this, she has a son named Ben. Ben is a little bit strange in the sense of that he has a quirk and it's a massively strong quirk, but it's a little bit different. His mom's quirk is it's a let's say, should I do something obvious or should I do something weird? Something weird, let's say. I always like doing something weird. She can use pyrokinesis. So she can use fire. But it's kind of weak in that sense where she can only put like fireballs in her hands and like chuck them at people. So she went into scientific field and she's a genius at matter manipulation. Because of her quirk, she had to learn a lot about this, so she learned a lot about matter manipulation. As she's setting up the portal itself, her son is in the testing lab because, scientists always do that shit, I guess. As she is trying to figure out it's basically like a test. The last couple tests that they have done through the portal, nothing came out the other end. So they've thrown rats inside of the portal and nothing came out to the other side. So, and the U.S. and Japanese government are spending a lot of money on this. So they want production and they want it to be useful. So she's like kind of stepping off the process and a little bit distracted. As when she's researching and everyone's out of the testing zone, she forgets about Ben. Ben walks onto the main cat line when she turns on the portal. She's very tired, as all the rest of the crew is very tired and do not see him until they hear the screams of him just holding on to a cord. He's like, "Stop! Stop! Stop!" As she looks out, as the reaction team is not as fast because she's almost asleep, almost in that sense. As she runs over to grab the thing, as you hear a snap, as you see the cord, as everyone sees the cord break, as she shut the portal, but it's just not in time yet. Ben sneaks in. As you see, she just collapses as she starts crying. As we go to Ben's viewpoint, as Ben is going through everything. When I mean everything, I mean everything. universe, timeline, dimensional spectrum. He's going through basically everything, and he's falling through it. How the universe works, and how I'm going to say it's not actually how it works, but there's layers. It's almost like a piece of paper in that sense. See, we have our universe right here, that we have the powers that we have and the understanding that we know. And then we have our universe below that that knows a little bit more and a little bit more powerful. The universe below that, and the universe below that. And then we have gods that control everything and manipulate everything else. Ben is crashing through all of those universes and is going to the very bottom. As we go and we see a familiar creature for us, not for him, we see Alien X from Ben 10. As Ben goes into the middle of not thousand, I should say probably like 20. It is a massive universe. He's going to the middle as he's completely passed out because of the basically going through a vortex as he's sucking up. We don't know how, but he's sucking up the energy of all the alien X's around him, making him like slowly making him armed, just like Alien X. He's making himself an Alien X. As he keeps on sucking up the universes, something weird happens. Instead of him becoming Alien X and becoming just a cosmic boundary to make all the universes and change this, he falls one step down from this godlike frame, like the leveling status. He falls one step down to a place where no one even knows that they existed. So how this works is, think of, how can I draw this in the simplest form for this universe at least? So how these deities work is they are rule based. They're very rule based, but they're out of the timeline itself. So we have our normal Midoriya and blah 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 timeline and all the events. We have them who are out of the timeline. Alien X is out of the timeline completely. And then we have Ben. Ben's an anomaly. Now, Alien X's do not like anomalies, but he is an anomaly. Because, number one, he's not technically in any of the universes. He's not even technically in a spectrum of time, or because he's going through what we call a time vortex, or we're going to call a time vortex. It doesn't work like that. How it's working itself is time is very moving slow, incredibly so, as the knowledge of the world itself is running even as slower. As Ben is Alien X, he has all the shapes and forms of Alien X, but he is now trapped. He cannot move, he cannot shape, and he cannot do anything. He is in Deadlands. Deadlands are basically where anomalies go, where rules don't exist. Timing, space do not exist here. This is not a place of rules. This is not a place of what we think of our rules of gravity. There's no gravity. There is no mass. There is no nothing. As he learns everything from this place, this one area, he learns everything. And when I mean everything, I mean every little detail of every person's past, future, this world itself, the beginning of all the universes and everything, all the history of everything, as he went from the beginning to the end He learned every detail. As he's now a paradox. Because he's not technically in any timelines. He's not even outside of the main timeline. So if you kill him, you're not affecting him in any way. Because he's not in any timeline. He's a paradox. He's in everywhere and nowhere. But Ben itself has also been sucking up energy of Alien X's, basically becoming stronger and stronger. As how should I? The time in the real world has been going on, but he's been going every like hour, not even hour, every second for the real world is 1 billion. 1 billion years for Ben. As he lived through everything. Now, with that, he is massively powerful. Now, I made this character because I'm going to make this a funny guy. But just remember, there are layers. There's the first layer that is our universe. The second layer is the second universe is the multiverses. The third layer is the people who are basically the geniuses who are basically can control the multiverses, and then they're the gods, the alien X's, and the other species that are up that level that we'll talk about later, who are basically controlling what the universe looks like, what the universe feels like. So remember that. I'll draw this equation later. And then there's the normal timeline. But Ben and his personality has changed. He was this joyful kid. Now he's kind of old. He's ancient now. And he has one gray hair popping out of his long hair of black. He just has one gray. As for the first 2 to 3 billion years, he became instantly, he was a genius intellect. For 1,000 billion years, he was a genius intellect. Then he became insane, and then he got bored insanity, so he became mad, very mad, and then he got bored of that. And then he realized how to get out. He realized all the rules. He basically built a map in his own head, so he knows every. Think of it like back roads. He has Alien X's power, so a godlike power. But he doesn't need it. He can just go the back roads. He's now known the multiverse's back roads, let's say. Now, when he finally does this, Ben grabs the key, unlocks the door, opens it up, and goes to his main timeline, but he can't go the original timeline. See, because there's the original timeline of when he gets sucked in and nothing comes out. He can't go to that branch. There's branches. So a timeline, like think of it like a tree, and a normal timeline is branches. So there's small branches, like him getting sucked into the portal. That's a small branch. But giant branches are things that affect multiple characters and multiple things. That's why there's multiple branches connected with leaves. The roots are made by, actually I should have said that for the roots. It would be him getting sucked into a portal would be a root. But he cannot go back to his normal timeline or even close the section of that normal timeline. Because if he does, he fucks everyone else up. Because for 20 years, his mother, she was 30 when she started until she was 50. She looked for him. Actually, 55. Looked for him, scouted for him, tried to find him, tried to do anything he can. But they finally ran out of money and shut it all down. She did not remarry, but she did have another kid. named Inko. Now you see where this is going, boys. Inko Midoriya, a new husband, because she divorced the other one because he thought she was mad. She was, but there's no way to say that. As she had another kid, Inko, as she grew up and have a kid herself. Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya. As Izuku Midoriya, that's when we begin our story. As when Ben is going through the multiverse itself, basically doing his walkthrough itself, because this is not old Ben. This is old Ben, but this is not old Ben. He does not know all the roadways yet. He's mapping out the areas. And he's mapped out every area but one. And he now knows where it is now. His home. His place. As Ben walks he mapping out the area on his own head, he's talking to himself. There's two voices in this head. Extra to the other two. There is greed. Not really greed, I shouldn't say, but there is want and there is need. Now, this is going with the Alien X side to him side. But all these voices are basically combined into his own headly spectrum, and he also does not have to ask permission like Ben. He just has full control. But all these voices basically hold up his psyche of his own brain because how insane he is. But he's talking as Juan is saying, I want to go back. As Nita says, but we don't need to. He says, yeah, but I want to. As Reason is himself is like, we're going back. No matter what, we're going to go back. As he basically starts walking as he finds the road he needs to go on. He opens the door as he enters his current timeline. As the thing has changed. It's changed a lot from when he was a kid. It's a bustling city now as where his house originally was. As remember, he has almost all the knowledge of the multiverse in his own head. As he's traveling along, walking around, he already knows where he needs to go. But he's talking, he's just walking, oh, this is interesting. As you see, as he's walking, he has this kind of like this black shirt with space is infinite, reality is gone, do not believe the truth on the front. As he's walking around with kind of like shorts and high tops, as he's just walking around and he's just looking around and he's just like, it's different than what I was, but we all can't stay the same. As you see the white hair kind of gets into his eye and he says, oh, you remind me so much. As he flosses to the side as he starts walking again. As he finally gets to the house of his mother. He knocks on the door. As you hear an old bat with a pipe saying, who is it? As he says, the Eye of Sauron? As she looks up, what's the code? He says, dreams are only reality if you make it.
as she opens the door. As Ben is around 6, not even 6 foot, around 5'11", but towering over this older woman. As she says, Ben, as he says, well, no, it's John Ricco, and I need to find out what your car insurance is. As you just get this massive hug from his mom, as he says, she's like, come in, come in. As you see him like light up like a candle or something with a snap of her fingers as he sit down. Now, how? Which part? How did I get here, or how did I live? I need everything. As Ben looks at her and says, everything? She looks at him and says, every single piece of your information. As he says, well, first, let's start at the beginning. As this is where we're going to end it off. I hope you guys liked the video. Also, remember, if you please subscribe and also comment down below whatever what ifs you want. I'll see you guys later.